Hey everybody, Matt Johnston here, and this is a video that's largely directed towards Maryland employers. Being a Maryland attorney, this is something that I follow. The Maryland General Assembly has convened in Annapolis, and they're doing their work as they normally do, or at least as normal as it can be when the House chamber is spread apart in two rooms, and the Senate chamber is basically a large group of, well, clear plastic cubicles, I guess is the best way of doing it. If you want to see what the Senate chamber looks like, you should look it up online. It's actually kind of funny looking. It's necessary, I get it, but it is kind of funny looking. Anyway, I do want to address a couple of legislative actions that are ongoing that do affect small businesses. And a couple of those are being tracked by the Maryland Chamber of Commerce. You can track those as well through that organization if you choose, or you can do so through the Maryland Legislative Services Bureau, which you can do online at the General Assembly website. You can track specific bills if you would like. So the first other one that I want to talk about is called the FAMLI, which is the Family and Medical Leave Insurance Program. It's SB 211 is the name of the bill, or the number of the bill. This bill would create a family and medical leave insurance program that both employees and employers would be required to contribute to if the employee chose to sign in. And it would provide up to 14 weeks of paid leave that the employee can contribute to, and if the employee chooses to contribute to it, the employer is required to contribute to it up to a certain percentage of the employee's personal income, how much they're bringing in from the job. So that particular bill had a hearing last week, and it is likely to make its way through the process towards a vote on the Senate floor and potentially on the House floor as well. The provisions provide family and medical leave for a variety of things, including many healthcare situations, but also military spouses and things like that for folks who are going to be deployed overseas. So it is a bill that is designed to make it to passage, largely based upon those military contingencies, but it does provide for family and medical leave as well. The next bill that I want to talk about is HB 581. HB 581 would create a number of mandates upon employers, the first being hazard pay. Now, the hazard pay isn't necessarily about going forward. Hazard pay would be for employers who are essential employers or essential employees, and the employer would be required to pay $3 extra per hour for all work done since the state of emergency was implemented. So that would include going all the way back to March of last year when Governor Hogan instituted a state of emergency. $3 per hour for all employees for every hour that they've worked since March, I don't know, what was it, 16, something like that. So nearly a year. And it's one thing to say that's about a state of emergency going forward, it's another to be retroactive. Next up would also require employers to provide financial assistance for unreimbursed health expenses. So let's assume for a moment you have an employee health plan that you are paying a benefit for. If that employee is an essential worker, that essential worker would be able to get their unreimbursed costs, so their co-pays, their co-insurance, the things of those natures. Those things would be reimbursed by guess who? The employer. So while the health plan may provide that the employee has to pay for certain expenses, most of them do, those expenses would now be reimbursed by the employer. There would also be a new leave program. The leave program would allow employers, or would require employers, to provide 14 days of health leave. I'm not sure how this works exactly with the current Maryland Safe and Sick Leave Act. I don't know if that would be an addition to that act or a supplement to the act, or if it would replace the Safe and Sick Leave Act. My guess is that it would be interpreted as an additional health plan over and above the Maryland Safe and Sick Leave Act, which is paid leave for employers with 14 or with 15 or more employees. Finally, there is a right to refuse work. Under this particular statute, if passed, Maryland employees would be able to refuse work if they felt unsafe, um, and they could do so pretty much without notice. So if they woke up in the morning and let's say COVID-19 numbers are spiking, they can say, I'm not coming to work today. And the employer would have almost no recourse. There does not appear to be a mechanism to avoid abuse or require verification by the employer or employees. And it's interestingly enough, is pretty vague on whether or not a teleworking employee would be able to do this. There are some other vagueness issues within the bill, but those are the things that are happening right now legislatively. I do anticipate there's going to be some more legislation that's going to be posted and voted on and potentially passed into law, and it would force Governor Hogan to make a decision about whether or not to veto those bills. If he vetoes those bills, it is highly likely that his veto will be overridden in the next legislative session, which would take place next year. So those are some of the risks that are involved right now. That legislation is pending. And if you happen to be a Maryland employer, you might want to take a look at that. If you happen to be an employer in other states, well, take a good, long, hard look at what your state legislature is doing. Right now, there's an awful lot of legislation nationwide that is being proposed to help protect workers as a result of the pandemic without a whole lot of thought to what it does to small business owners. In the meantime, if you have any other questions about these pieces of legislation, give me a call. And in the meantime, stay safe. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.